War changes people. It's a common saying. Oskar Schindler is a shining example of how sometimes war changes someone into a hero. If you knew Schindler before the end of World War II, you would never have guessed he would be a hero.
He was a profiteer, a heavy drinker, and a philanderer. But by the end of the war, he would spend almost every penny he had and put himself at great personal risk many times to save more than 1,100 Jewish people from certain death. This is a quick look at the life of Oskar Schindler.
Let's dig into this.
Oskar Schindler was born on April 28, 1908 in Moravia, Austria-Hungary. The area where Schindler was born is now in the Czech Republic. In 1928, he married his wife, Emily. Oskar had numerous affairs and was arrested more than once for public drunkenness. But he also had charisma and an apparent drive to succeed. By 1935, he was working as a spy for the Sudeten German Party. In 1938, he was arrested by the Czechs for espionage and sentenced to death. Ironically, he may have only survived because Germany annexed parts of Czechoslovakia and pardoned him.
After the German occupation of Poland, Schindler moved to Krakow and bribed his way into a lease on an enamelware factory. By this time, he was changing his views after seeing the treatment of Jewish people. He was supported by several Jewish investors, including one of the factory's owners. 7 of his workers were Jewish at the beginning. By 1944, the factory had 1,750 employees, and 1,000 were Jewish. Incredibly, the factory produced cookware for the German military. Schindler and other manufacturers made huge profits during the war by using Jewish labor.
Schindler spent most of his profits bribing anyone he could keep his workers safe. He bribed the officials of the nearby Plassow work camp with booze and black market luxury items to keep his workers separate from the main camp and protected people who were most vulnerable, including disabled persons and those accused of having forged documents. He was so persuasive that he actually convinced the camp commander to allow him to house his workers at a camp he built at his factory. He also housed over 400 workers from nearby factories in this safe environment.
1944. Oskar Schindler's factory was ordered closed by the German government. All workers were to be shipped to Auschwitz. Schindler refused. Using his powers of persuasion, his network of supporters, and bribery, he convinced officials to let him move the factory to Brnenec, close to his hometown. At this time, a list of 1,100 men, women, and children he claimed were his factory workers was produced by Schindler and others. He used his own money to have them transported to the new factory. When 700 men were sent to the Gross-Rosen concentration camp and 300 women were moved to Auschwitz by mistake, Schindler bribed officials with incredible amounts of money and liquor and even diamonds until he accomplished the impossible. He got them all out and brought them to the factory.
Schindler also used his contacts and bribery to get as many as 3,000 other women out of Auschwitz and arrange for them to work at other factories. And in 1945, Schindler's wife Emily met a trainload of 250 people that were rejected for mine work near the factory. The train car doors were frozen shut when it arrived, and 12 people had not survived the trip. The survivors were too sick to work. Emily moved the survivors to a makeshift hospital and helped care for them until the end of the war.
On May 7, 1945, Winston Churchill announced on the radio that Germany had surrendered and the war was over. Oskar Schindler and his workers were listening to the speech at the factory. Now it was Schindler and his wife who were in grave danger. They left Germany the next day with the help of several Jewish Schindler-Juden. The name of the Jewish people he was able to help came to be known by.
In 1949, Oskar and Emily settled in Argentina with several Jewish families that he had saved, and his mistress. They didn't have much money after paying so many huge bribes for so many years. They tried farming, but went bankrupt in 1957.
In 1958, Oskar Schindler left his wife and mistress in Argentina, apparently without any explanation, and went back to West Germany. He started a cement business, and he tried a few other ventures, but none of them were successful. He declared bankruptcy in 1963. The following year, he had a heart attack and was hospitalized for almost a month. He had stayed in contact with many people he had saved, and through their support, he survived for the rest of his life on donations of the Schindler-Juden all over the world.
In recognition of his work during World War II, Schindler attended a ceremony in 1962 where he was honored with a carob tree planted on the Avenue of Righteous in Jerusalem, Israel. The tree survives to this day. He made 17 trips to Israel before his death. In 1993, Oskar and his wife Emily were named Righteous Among the Nations, an award recognizing those who had actively saved Jewish people during the war.
Oskar Schindler died of liver failure on October 9, 1974, at the age of 66 in Germany. His body was taken to Jerusalem by some of the people he had rescued, and as he had requested, he was buried in the Catholic cemetery on Mount Zion. The inscription on his grave says, "The unforgettable rescuer of 1,200 persecuted Jews, a fitting resting place for this man who was an unlikely hero."
Thanks for watching. We hope you learned something today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you on the next one.